Hi guys, Julia here from JM Squared Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am here with something a little bit different. If you've been following me or watching my videos for any amount of time, I'm sure you've heard me mention over the last couple months how much it feels like Depop is growing. And I figured there's no better time than now to do a deep dive, really get into like how to get started, what sells best over there, and go over a few little tactics to grow your sales on Depop. So whether you are somebody who is like exploring just starting reselling, or you are a seasoned reseller that is interested in getting into Depop, or you've been selling on Depop for a while and it's not really doing anything for you, we've got a little bit of something for everybody in this video. But before we get started here, guys, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on this channel, first and foremost, welcome. I am Julia. That is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, we've got a lot to get into. So why don't you go grab your notebook, grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink. I've got my matcha latte. And then sit back, relax, and let's get into Depop. But before we get into any of the goods, I do want to take a minute to thank Depop themselves for partnering with me on this video. Crazy, right? I do want to stress that all of the opinions and experiences here that I'm going to talk about are my own. But this is a video I've been thinking about doing for a little while because I've been noticing the serious growth that I've been seeing in my own stats on Depop. And I thought it would be great to really demystify the platform, talk about some of the commonly held misconceptions, and really make sure that once you are listing on Depop or cross-listing on Depop, however you want to work it, that you are pulling all the levers available to you to make sure that you are getting the maximum amount of sales, your listings are getting viewed the maximum amount of times. So thank you again to Depop for partnering with me on this video. So if you don't already have a Depop account and you are looking to sell on Depop, you can either click the link down in the description box or check out this QR code that'll take you right to the app and sign yourself up. It's super, super easy. But let's get started with some tips as far as building out your listings. So the first thing we're going to talk about are your photos. And probably more so than on any platform, your photos really, really matter on Depop. It's a very visually driven platform. So you want to make sure that you've got, very clear pictures, well-lit pictures. Think about where you have space to take pictures. Is it well lit? Does it get good daylight? Like I like to shoot in this room, particularly along this wall, and in the middle of the day I get bright sun from two different directions, so it's a very well lit room. But if you're working out of like a garage, or if you're working out of a basement, or whatever space you have available to you, if you don't have a lot of natural light, or you only have like a dim kind of basement bulb, I recommend investing into a couple of studio lights, not necessarily a ring light, but like kind of two lights that can hit your items from both directions, the goal being to minimize the shadows. You can get those inexpensively from Amazon. I'll link a set that I've bought before down in the comments below, and if you're looking for a little bit more of a splurge, I'll link the Lume Cube ones that I'm using currently. The next thing you want to think about is the background of where you are photographing. If you only have something that's got a pretty cluttered background, or you have a lot of pictures on the wall, you can use a background remover. There are tons of apps that do that. Also a lot of cross-listers. If you're using a cross-lister, I use Vendu. They actually have a built-in background remover that I utilize. Editing Julia here, completely forgot to mention that the native listing experience in Depop does have a built-in background remover. It's fully integrated with Photo Room, so you don't need to use a third-party app to get those white backgrounds. You can do it right in the app. And again, if you're looking for a more serious setup, you can get a slant board where you can do flat lay photos against a clean background. Alternately, if you want just a little bootleg way to do this, you can go to your local craft store and buy the biggest canvas that you can find. I think I got the one that I used at Michael's with a 50% off coupon, and it's massive. You can kind of see it back. You can see the top of it back behind the purse and the plant on that shelf right there. And that for me works because I can store it behind a bookshelf. I don't have a ton of space. I don't have a big basement room. I'm really running this out of my guest bedroom here. So I really have to maximize space. So that's what I did instead of a slant board. And I'll do that mostly for difficult to photograph pants, rompers, anything like that that's difficult to photograph on a hanger. I also have an inexpensive mannequin that I use for dresses or things that really need a body under them. I want to say it was like under $20, again from Amazon. I'll link that down below. So you can have a really solid, well-lit setup pretty much anywhere you have available to photograph your stuff. And a little tip, especially if you're photographing with your phone, I can't speak to Androids, but iPhones in particular have a lot of post-production that's done just in regular, they're not necessarily shooting in RAW like you would get in a regular camera. So if you're ever having a situation where you're really struggling to get the true color of an item, I experience this mostly with like navy blues in particular. I don't know why it's navy blues. I am not a photographer. I just know that my camera does not like navy blue. Usually, if you get a good close-up of the internal tag, because the shot is kind of shrouded by the rest of the collar, it tends to give you a really good, true sense of the color. So if you have a situation where your items are kind of not photographing in true color, but you do have that one close-up, I always like to note that, like, okay, the color is showing the truest in the close-up picture of the tag. So people have the best possible idea of what they're buying. Now on Depop, you're allowed up to 8 photos. I always do full front, full back, a close-up of the tag, contents tag. If I'm photographing a shirt or a jacket or something like that, I will pull the sleeve out to kind of show the silhouette of the sleeve and the shape of the actual bodice. And then if there's any kind of details, pin tuck, sequins, embroidery, whatever, I like to do as many detail photos as they'll allow. And of course, you want to make sure that you're photographing any flaws and pointing those out. So that's like the first big step. You want to make sure that your photos are on lock. Again, some small investments in lighting and getting a little creative with a background can make a huge difference in the amount of clicks that your items get. Like huge, probably the biggest difference of anything else that we're going to talk about. So pay attention to your photos. Next thing we're going to talk about is the description. And there's a couple different things that you do in descriptions, and the amount of people that just have like a one-line description will never cease to amaze me. Depop's search algorithm is excellent. Honestly, I think it's one of the best of any of the reselling marketplaces right now. And they lean on keywords, they lean on those descriptive words. If you'll notice, they don't even have a headline available like every other marketplace does. I still kind of make a headline in my listing. I make it the top line of my description. Now, of course, we don't have total visibility into what the algorithm looks like, but you can always be sure of a few things. Normally, most search functions are going to weight the first, 20 words in a description a little bit heavier than words down on the bottom. Now, we don't know if they do that for sure, but that is something that a lot of search algorithms do, and I always write my listings as such. So for my first line, I do brand, color, style name if I've got it, and then descriptive words. So say it's a white linen, blouson sleeve, band collar, button down shirt. Right? That's exactly how I would write that. And then I would put the size. Beyond that, I'm going to be as descriptive as humanly possible in my listing. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to get every single potential search term that somebody could use for this blouse into the listing, as long as the keywords and the descriptive words that I'm using are relevant. So if you're a little stumped about that, the method that I always tell people to use, at least at first, until you kind of get your head around how you do this, is pretend you are describing this to somebody who can't see it. Somebody's considering buying this over the phone. Describe everything, band collar, blouson sleeves, button down, 100% linen, relaxed fit, mother of pearl buttons. Use every descriptive term you possibly can. Note every unique thing about the garment. Then I finish that up with the condition. I note any damage if there is any, the size, and then measurements. I like to do lay flat measurements just because it's easiest for me to get. I always say, if you're doing this, try to make it so that people don't have to reach out to you to make a decision to purchase it. You want to have as much information in that listing as you can. In marketing, and if you don't know me, I worked for 20 years in digital marketing, so this is very much what I lived and breathed for 20 years. The thing that we're always trying to do in marketing is to reduce the amount of clicks to purchase, right? So the less time between somebody initially clicking on your listing and purchasing your listing, the better. And if they have to reach out to you for clarification on a size or whatever, that's going to slow that down. So I would think about, as you're building out your listings, what can you do to make sure that the potential buyer has 100% information. And in terms of SEO, which is search engine optimization, if you are unfamiliar with the term, this is something that every website in the world does to get ranking in the major search engines. This is no different. Depop is a search engine, so you need to be writing your listings in the same way. You're optimizing it for their search algorithm. You're optimizing it for the highest possible placement in their search results. So I always add in a bunch of style tags. So maybe this is boho, or this is minimalist, or this is something that somebody would wear for like a bachelorette party, or so on and so forth. I always like to think of the who, what, when, where, and how. Who's going to wear it? What is it? When are they going to wear it? Where are they going to wear it? And how are they going to wear it? So if you don't know how to come up with search terms, that's an easy way to start getting your brain into the practice of pulling out relevant keywords. Relevant being the operative term here. Now, I did mention relevant, and here's why. So in the world of keywording, there is such a thing as keyword stuffing. So there's a balance between adding all of the relevant keywords and completely overdoing it. I'm going to show you a block of keywords. I want you to guess what all of these keywords are for. Did you guess a brown and white checkerboard sweater? Like, people will do this to make their listings show up in more searches, which the theory is correct, right? But what happens is because you have so many and it's so irrelevant. So the reasons are twofold for not doing this. Number one, your listings will more than likely get devalued if you keyword stuff. And number two, you have to remember that this is a two-way thing, right? We want to make sure as resellers that buyers are having a good experience while shopping. If they're typing something in, we want to make sure that they're seeing what they're searching for. I don't want somebody who's like looking for something goth, which is clearly going to be black or gray or silver or pink, depending on, their flavor, and getting something like this. Like, that's not a good experience for the buyer. So while Depop is doing their best to create the best search algorithm to show people the most relevant results, we also have to play into that and make sure that we are using relevant keywords. Also, just to note, there's some gray area if things are like such and such inspired. Don't use brand names that aren't the brand of the item that you're buying. I see this all the time. Again, it just muddies the algorithm for everybody, and that's not a good experience for anybody. And at the end of the day, if somebody has a bad experience buying from Depop, they're not going to come back and buy from Depop. It's not just going to be your store that they're not going to repurchase from. It's everybody's store that they're going to repurchase from. So we really both have to be playing in, Depop has to do their best job of kind of weeding out spammy things and weeding out the bad apples. And we have to do our best to write our descriptions as thoroughly and as relevantly as humanly possible. I could go on for days about that, but I'll leave it there. Just use relevant keywords. If you're concerned that you have too many, maybe set a cap on it. Say maybe 10 or 15 keywords or key phrases is the max you're going to put at the end of your description. That's an easy way to ensure that you're not going completely overboard. Now we get into the actual selling part. So lots to talk about here. I think the best thing to know about Depop, and probably one of the best reasons if you're thinking about only doing one platform, one of the best reasons to do Depop is that they don't have any seller's fees. There's a small transaction fee, but it's only like $1 or $2, depending on the price of your item. Now, in terms of the actual sales process, buyers can either just buy the item outright, or they can send you an offer. The one thing to know about Depop is that the offers are non-binding. And I know a lot of people get up in arms about this because they'll get an offer and they won't follow through. And at the end of the day, they've said that they have shown no increase in sales when making the offers binding. They did recently add an option to make it binding. So if it's something that's really hot, sold out online, everybody wants it, and somebody wants to make an offer and have that be binding, there is that option available to them now. And I've actually had a few offers come through that way. Depop's in the business of making money, just like we are in the business of making money. So if changing their offers to binding was something that noticeably increased their bottom line and in turns our bottom line, it's something that they would have done. So that is just the way that Depop works. So whatever you do, try not to take it personal when people make an offer and don't buy it. It happens all the time. Somebody will come along and pick that up. Now, in terms of getting your listings seen above and beyond the description and the photos that you wrote, we're going to talk a little bit more about the levers you can pull to generate more sales a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what to sell on Depop. So there is, I don't want to call it a misconception because it obviously came from somewhere, but there's a lot of people that think that Depop is really only for like Y2K and vintage pieces. That couldn't be more wrong. I asked them what their top selling brands were, and this is like the benefit of partnering directly with the platform. I can email them and ask these questions. I asked them what their top selling brands were, and they said Free People and Lululemon. I asked them if they could provide a more in-depth list, and if they get that to me, I'll put it right here. But I also cross-checked that against my data. I pulled all of my Depop sales over the last 2 years. And for me, Free People was number one in terms of brands sold, followed by Anthropologie and Anthropologie brands, followed by Aritzia, followed by a tie between Zara and Madewell. So if you are only listing vintage pieces, or you think that Depop is only for vintage pieces, you are dead wrong. You should be listing all of your inventory on Depop. Especially if you are cross-listing, it is virtually no additional effort to list everything on Depop. So I would say make sure that if you are cross-listing pretty much all of your inventory over to Depop, because their buyer base has been growing. In fact, just a month or so ago, I did an entire video on cross-listing. If you're interested in that, I'll link that down in the description below. But the most recent data that I could find was that Depop had between 20 and 30 million followers. I asked them for the most updated number, and as of their last tally, they had 43 million. They're the fastest growing resale marketplace in America today. And I've been mentioning this over the last couple months. If you've been watching my Ship With Me's, it feels like Depop is making a huge push. And that makes me happy because I think that their user experience, their user interface is fantastic as compared to both eBay and Poshmark. Like it's clean. Their search algorithm is great. I like their communication. It's very clean, very simple, not cluttered at all. So if you've been reselling for a long time and maybe you do Poshmark and eBay and you've been kind of not wanting to bother with Depop, it is time to take Depop very, very seriously. Because let me put it this way, the last data that I could pull on Poshmark is that they have 80 million active users and Depop is closing in fast on that number. So let's talk a little bit about the levers that you can pull to generate some more sales over on Depop. And one of the first things that you can do is refreshing listings. I'll tell you kind of how I do it, but you do it however works for you. So for me, I cross-list. I list on 4 different platforms. And I, every 60 days, will go in and kind of refresh my listings and make sure that I'm getting all of the keywords that I possibly can. If there's a new trend that comes in that my item matches up with, I'll make sure that that keyword's in there. And I always try to add or change at least one term in every listing every 60 days, really just to like spruce things up a little bit. And I relist them. That's going to give your listings a little bit of a boost because your listing will be recently refreshed. And I always say do this in like bite-sized chunks. So don't, have a day where you're like, all right, I need to go and relist, 300 of my listings. I do 10 a day, 12 a day, 15 a day, whatever it is that makes sense to you and your amount of listings. So in terms of levers that you have to pull to kind of generate more sales, you've got 3 pricing tools that you can play with. The first and most simple is sending offers. So if you go to your home screen and then you click on inbox and then you click over on notifications, you'll see all the people that have liked your items. You select send offer. You can set your own price or you can just select a percentage. I generally like to do like 15%. Hit that. And then hit send, and that's it. You can also, while you're in there, set up those offers to be auto-sent to likers, and you can set this up on any of your items. So if you go to any item that you've got in your store here, I'll do this cute little dress. If you click on send offers, you can set it up to automatically send offers. So you just toggle that on. So this I have listed at $36. Say I want to automatically send offers for $32. So I just type that in, click save, and then the next person that likes this item will automatically get a $32 offer within a few minutes of sending that like. One of the other options you have here is to set a discount. This discount will be visible to everybody, but if you have people that have liked the item in the past, they'll get a notification that you've set a discount on this item. So say we'll do these little Sorel boots. You click down here to set a discount and you can set the discount up to whatever you want it to be. So for me, I'll do 25% off. And you can set a time limit on this, right? So say I want to set that to a 48-hour discount. I want to run a weekend sale or whatever. Just click confirm discount and that's it. That's done. Easy peasy. This is something you can do while you're like watching TV at night or drinking your coffee in the morning. It's super easy, brainless stuff to do. And then the third option is the mass discount. And this is something that I'll kind of pull out of my tool belt if I have something that's gotten a lot of attention over time and a lot of like offers, a lot of likers, but no buyers. So let's send one right now. I have one item in particular that I want to do this with. So give me a minute to find it. There we go. This little jacket has had a lot of likes on it, but nothing's popped through. So let's send an offer to all of the likers. And this is going to go to everybody who's liked this since I posted it. So this I have listed at $78. Let's send an offer for $60. And you can toggle on or off, automatically send this offer to anyone who likes or bags this item. So let's send 35 offers. Hopefully that'll pop through as a sale. Editing Julia back again. 2 quick things to talk about that I completely forgot to mention while I was filming this. Number 1, Depop just rolled out a new auto reply to offers feature. So if you want to further automate this process, you can basically set a floor price where Depop, if an offer comes through, will automatically accept an offer above your floor price. If the offer comes through below which you're willing to take, it will automatically counter back with an offer at your floor price. So let me show you how to do it. It's super easy. So we'll just go in through my little inbox here and we'll take this Draper James dress. So I've got that listed at $26. Say I want to set the floor price at $15. I don't want to even consider any options lower than that. You just click manage. And then you'll see this new auto respond to offers function here. So you just toggle that on and I set that floor price. So automatically, if an offer comes through and it's above 15, Depop will automatically accept that offer for me. I don't even have to pay attention to my phone. And if something comes in lower than that, they will counter with 15 on my behalf. So that's it. Super easy. And then the second thing that I completely forgot to talk about was boosting your listings or boosting your shops on Depop. I get so many people asking me if I do boost my listings or boost my shop on Depop, and the answer is yes, I do. I found it to be effective for my sales, but the thing that I like the best is it gives my listings a boost in visibility, and it doesn't charge me unless an item sells as a result of the boosting. Whenever I have that kind of advertisement available to me, it's something that I like to use. I boost my whole shop on Depop so I don't have to go in and go one by one, but if you say have, 20% of your items that you want to boost, you can go in and do that individually as well. And I know sellers don't like to give a bigger cut, but here's just something to chew on. Even with the boosting fee at 8% and the small processing fee that they do charge, it's generally still going to be less of a cut than is taken on pretty much any other marketplace. So all day long, 100%, I will boost my listings. I will boost my shop. And I say, give it a try because it's no risk. If you sell something, that's great. If you don't, you're not out any money. So give it a try. So those are some easy ways to shake out some sales in your Depop. So the way that I work it personally is that I like to have a small discount going at all times, kind of automatically to all of the likers. So I think I have it set to 10%. And then again, once in a blue moon, I'll kind of flip through and see the different items that have a lot of likes on them. If they've been around for a long time, I'm going to send one of those like deeper discounts to them. It's just, again, an easy way to kind of stimulate the sales and just kind of like refresh the memory of people who were shopping that in hopes that it pops up on their feed. They're interested, they come back in, they take a look, and hopefully they pick it up. But guys, that's it. That is a little bit of a deep dive into Depop. That is, a little bit about how to build your listings, how to photograph your items, a little bit about the selling process, and a few little tips to generate more sales. I hope this was helpful. Again, whether you are brand new to reselling and you're thinking about starting a Depop, you are an existing seller and you're just starting out on Depop and you're not sure what to do with it, or you're a seasoned reseller and you've been listing on Depop and you're just not getting enough sales. Hopefully these little tips have helped you out. A little strategy and structure around your selling process and your discounting process will help you out so much. It'll take that kind of mental load off of your plate. If you say, all right, I'm going to have the automatic offers to likers, every week or so, I'm going to go through and pop off a deeper discount. That's kind of how I do it. I'm not constantly having to wing it every day. And in the constantly shifting landscape of reselling, that is so helpful to have. I love having those like set processes to keep me grounded and keep me moving forward. But guys, if there's anything anything else about Depop that you want me to deep dive on, if you need any clarifications about anything we talked about today, don't hesitate to put that down in the comments. I try to be on top of my comments as much as humanly possible. Of course, if this was helpful, please give this video a big thumbs up. That helps me out a ton. Again, a special thanks to Depop for partnering with me on this video. If you are looking to sign up for Depop, don't forget to click the link down in the description box below or check out this QR code up here on the screen. But thanks again, guys, for hanging out with me and talking reselling. This is obviously what I do. It's obviously what I love. And I love that I am able to help you guys, even if it's just a little bit, maximize your business and increase your profits. So with that all being said, guys, I hope you all have the most beautiful weekend. Happy hunting, and I will see you all in the next one.